Greetings everyone, the Good Sir Knight here, and today we're going to be tackling a difficult to answer question that me and my buddies have been going back and forth about with airsoft, and not so much reasons why airsofters get made fun of, although that is going to be covered in part of the video. We're going to be talking about airsoft as a training tool, so to speak. Now, it all started when one of my good buddies, Mythic, up in Chicago, sent me this fun little picture with basically the Green Mountain Rangers on the top, the little YouTube feed, and it says, Airsoft super hardcore training video. And, you know, they run around, they're throwing their little smoke grenades and stuff and going pew 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 pew, like you do. And they're like, yeah, like training video, or doing all our military operations and looking cool while playing with airsoft guns. So, interesting concept, got me thinking. Immediately underneath it was this burly, bearded veteran guy who's, I didn't watch his video, but I'm assuming he comes up to the screen, he's just like, airsoft is not training! And again, also not necessarily wrong. As we know, the human mind is pretty lazy and quick to classify things in one position or the other. I mean, for example, you can ask anyone how they feel about the police. And yeah, you have a lot of people who will pretty much call you a bootlicker right off the bat. You've got other people who are like, they, you know, keep the peace. They do their thing. They do police stuff. It's whatever. And really what you're looking at is a bunch of individuals wearing uniforms. Some do a far better job than others. And, yeah, they tend to get fired. Kind of like having competent Marines. They don't usually get very far. They get kicked out of the organization or forced out through one reason or another, or they just never get those promotions that they're due, and then you get a bunch of garbage leadership up at the top. But hey, so let's get started. I actually took down a few notes, if you can ignore my handy dandy notebook here. So first and foremost, let's talk about shooting. So airsoft wise, particularly shooting, gas blowbacks are going to be a lot better due to their more realistic bolt lock, generally 30 round magazine capacity, bolt release. So when the gun is empty, you go, oh no, my bolt is locked back, I need to take out this mag, throw it on the ground, although they're far more expensive than the real aluminum ones, but because they will gas. But then you grab a new mag, you put in a new mag, slap the bolt, and you're back in the action. So that's good. You get a little bit of a kick, not too much, but enough to give you solid feedback that you're doing stuff. And yeah, so gas blowback's a good start. If you're just using AEGs, however, you can still get some unique basics and stuff. However, when you want to start, first and foremost, we're going to discuss shooting. Yeah, particularly if you've been in the military before, I know they drill in the 4 basic safety rules of weapons handling and all that stuff, and that's good. You learn a bunch of fun stuff about, you know, keep your weapon, treat every weapon as it is loaded, keep your weapon unsafe until you're ready to fire. You can point your weapon on anything you don't intend to shoot. It's out of order, but you get the idea. That's the general premise, and even with AEGs, that's a really good thing, because you still have people who are going to be in the safety area. If you're dicking around with a loaded weapon and pointing it at people, you're going to make, well, not friends, but you're going to make something. So you learn those first and foremost. That's good. You can do that. If you're teaching smaller children and stuff, alright, there's a lot to cover here, so we're going to go to a story. So first and foremost, when I was a wee lad, me and my brother, we'd go out with my dad, because he was also a Marine, we'd go out into the desert of Barstow. Don't look it up, it's a terrible place, it'll make you depressed, just the pictures alone. So we'd go out in the desert, and of course my dad, he'd had his Ruger 22 and his Mini 14. And we'd go out in the desert, generally hunting jackrabbits. So we'd go out, and what he did was, because me and my brother were still pretty young, he gave us these little bright orange cap guns. And what we were doing, it didn't even occur to me it was training at the time. What we did is we had little toy cap guns, and we're going through the desert, and we've got them either in a pocket or just away. There's no safety on cap guns, by the way. We got our cap guns, and what he was training us to do was not to fire haphazardly and whatever, because we'd scare everything away, but you know, keep your weapon safe, keep the weapon holstered, don't touch the trigger until you're ready, and walk the desert and go, oh, there's a rabbit, and there'd be one you wouldn't even feel like shooting. It's like, oh yeah, shoot it with the cap guns. And be like, okay, unholster, fire, pa, 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 pa. And it was a good time, so. Really early training tool, especially for children, for weapon safety. Cap guns. Great. So as you get older, you can move them kids before they start shooting real guns. Especially nowadays, the airsoft's a lot better developed than it was when I was younger. You can give your kids little AGs, handguns, Springer pistols and stuff and be like, hey, don't point this at your brother and don't point this at any people because they're not shooting people. Yet. Shooting people. So I mean, get the safety rules going. Okay, keep the gun safe. This actually fires a projectile. You can injure your eyes. You can injure people. You'll shoot your eye out, as the classic movie saying goes. So, from cap guns, you move to early airsoft guns, and you can teach kids some basics. Now, for the shooting-wise, compared to real firearms, particularly rifles with supersonic munitions that go very fast and are very hard to see. So, Marine Corps training, you got little targets, and if it hits the white, they put a black marker. If it hits the black, you put a white marker, and you give them an idea of where they're hitting and everything. So it's really good because you need to know where your bullets are going. And you generally want to start with iron sights. I don't stop iron sights, I know. They're so old school, blah, blah, blah. You start with iron sights because they're easy to adjust and it helps you really work on your shooting form, which is good. And they make iron sights for airsoft guns as well before you start moving to the more advanced optics. And this all ties into a story. Again, we're going to dig back into the Marine Corps thing. We had a Marine who was an admin, and, well, she couldn't shoot. Basically, she couldn't hit anything, unked off the range, and was in a pretty sour spot. So we had to get her trained. We can't just leave her without any training or have her unk out and have a bad day and all that. So what we did was in the barracks, we went to the multi-purpose room you have on every floor, the little common area. Set up a fan on one of the walls, and I got a toy Nerf gun. This is another probably pre-airsoft, post-cap gun option. We got a little Nerf revolver. And what we did was we set up some of the mixed drink little red cups. They come in blue too, you know, the let's get really drunk at a party cups. We'd set up a few of those across the room, and we'd take the Nerf gun, we'd load it, we'd go, okay, so the Nerf gun has unadjustable iron sights, quotations, you point it at the cup, you fire, and the dart falls short. Being able to see the trajectory and path of the dart was really what wasn't going through into her mind. So we'd shoot the cup, you shoot a little bit above the cup based on how far away we were from it, and hit the cup, boom, there you go. We're now getting foam darts on target, which was good. So she could hit the target now, so she could hit the target at different ranges, so now we turn the fan on different strengths and angles, move it across the room and stuff, and have her shoot at it, the dart would fly, the wind would hit it, and push it off target. So we're like, okay, we have to Kentucky windage this because of unadjustable iron sights. So what I want you to do is, since the wind's coming in from the left, aim at the normal elevation that you need for the target, and then move the weapon slightly to the left to adjust for the wind. And all of those on the range are going to count for different clicks. Clicks up, clicks left, and all that stuff. So she would do that, and eventually she got an idea of how the dart's going to fly and how to make it hit the cups, depending on the weather and the distance. So a bit of practice with that alone, because she already had all these solid, weapon position, gripping down here, gripping up here, wherever she wanted to grip it. I've seen people lose their mind if we grip weapons by the mag well. I mean, you can do it if you want to. I don't see why it would be a problem, but you're going to get a better, stronger grip from up here anyway. Potentially less felt recoil, so it's really up to you. But got her all the basics down, and once she understood all that, she went back to the range. She adjusted her iron sights accordingly, imagining the projectile path of the dart, and now converting it over to a 5.56 munition flying across, and she passed. Not only did she pass, but she shot expert, so pretty good. All she really needed was a better understanding of how the bullet was traveling. And she was able to transfer all that into an actual firearm and get a really good rifle score. So, if Nerf alone can help you with that, then, well, Airsoft, which also has very visible projectiles, subsonic 6mm caseless munitions, then, I mean, you're gonna get some use out of it. But there are a lot of shortcomings. So, Let me check my notes. I'm gonna tangent a lot, so just be ready. So with the iron sights and the adjustments, you can make all that stuff happen. Airsoft-wise, you can do the same thing, which is why airsoft shooting ranges are a thing, particularly in countries like Japan that don't let you have real firearms for the most part. There's a lot of little asterisks here because I have a friend who owns a shotgun, but you know, so the cops have to scout out his whole house and they do whole background checks and they make him keep the munitions and the shotgun at the police station. And he has to go check it out and he has to take I think he has to take the shotgun himself and they bring the munitions to him. It's weird. It's stupid. Really stupid, but that's what they do, so that's cool. So we've got all that going on. And let's see, so airsoft. So you can, airsoft-wise, you can go to an airsoft range. I know, it's pretty cringy. I don't particularly like it either, but if you need to shoot something, an airsoft range isn't bad. The wind effects are far more intense on the slower, lightweight airsoft BBs. So you have to do a lot more compensation stuff and you can make the BB hit the target. So you can still work rifle basics. As you can tell, we have a pretty realistic replica with our adjustable stock. Actually, I need to tighten that back down. We actually have a red dot sight because that's nice because we're doing a lot of close quarters combat. You're only going to be shooting about 50 meters with a rifle, with an airsoft rifle if it's really good. I think mine gets close to like 30, 35. So lots of very close quarters shooting as opposed to the 500-ish debatable range you would get with an actual M16, M4 and all that good stuff. So you still got some good stuff going in the short quarters, but you got a lot of the basic stuff, the actual authentic Bushnell sight and other realistic optics and vertical grips are all usable. And this is a VTAC sling, another authentic piece of gear. A lot of this, most of it's authentic. I'll be able to transfer over. The only thing I would probably change out mostly, the rail covers, because these are really cheap. I'd like something a bit more durable in all weather environments. And the light is good stream light, but the mount is a cheap little like $10 Chinese one. I'd probably swap that with a real one whenever I get the extra funds lying around to buy one. Oh, maybe a new Magpul sling catch, but Blue Force gear, sling clips work great. We got our CQB setup there, so we have a lot of stuff we can train with, and if you take out this back pin and everything, you can actually pull out the bolt. It's not going to clean like a realistic bolt, but it gives you a good idea. Buffer spring, all that stuff is there, and it's all good. So that's nice. You can learn some gun parts from Airsoft. Now, I think at this point, before we continue, we're going to get to the first real question. Can you do training with Airsoft weapons and equipment? And well, as I mentioned, it's not going to be really a yes or no question, so can you substitute real weapons training and everything with Airsoft? I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because even though you're getting a bunch of the little basics and everything, real rifles are going to have more kick that you need to be accustomed to. They're going to be a lot louder, which means if you're not accustomed to loud noises, you're more inclined to panic and get adrenaline overdose and just completely mind flood yourself. And I mean, it's not going to happen to everyone. I had a lot of the military training prior to good climatization to weapons and stuff, so no real need for panic there. But for other people, they're going to have a bit of a harder time, we're going to say. So you've got some basics and stuff. Now, you can't substitute weapons training and all that stuff with Airsoft, but you can supplement it. Now, with supplements, I mean, if you do have the experience, if you know how to shoot real guns, or you are frequently shooting real guns, you can get a lot more of the, say, more hazardous stuff trained competently without risk of grievous bodily harm or injury or anything. So here's where Airsoft actually shines. And I know there's several companies, and even a few police forces, that have their own very realistically built Airsoft guns, more realistic than this. Like I mentioned with the Bolt, you have ones that are actually made designed to look exactly like actual firearms. I know several police academies and various groups actually train with these because, well, one, Airsoft munitions are way cheaper than sim rounds, which are a ton of fun. Tangent. At my first duty station, we got to go, and my good buddy Fox, he should be here. I'm not going to Photoshop him in because I'm lazy, but he should be here. My good buddy Fox, he was with me the entire time I was out here in Okinawa. We went up to Schwab from our first unit, which was 3rd Intel. We go up to Schwab because our staff sergeant wants us to stop being dirty pogues and actually play with guns. So what we did was we had This wasn't an MVTV, it was the, whatchamacallit, the interceptors. The little interceptors, you put on like this paintball mask underneath your helmet, and that was it. We changed out our lower receivers to use, what was the upper receiver? We changed out the upper receiver to use sim rounds. They had this little 9mm paintball casing thing. We loaded a few mags. And yeah, we basically divided into teams. We went out the first day. First day we did a bunch of training. So we got our Marine Corps issued, God, the speed gear develops, you start to realize how old you are. We had our standard Marine Corps issued magazine pouches. We had a few mags. Each mag had maybe like 3 to 5 rounds in them each. And we basically, well, when we did the shooting part, first we just used empty aluminum mags, and we would pop, drop out the mag, insert new mag, slap sided gun, lock bolt back, drop out mag, insert, clink. Yeah, so drop out mag, insert new mag. You're trying to do these with these old school pouches, so you tuck the Velcro underneath, have the mags readily available. Craddock's is much nicer, by the way. A lot of the cool stuff, a lot of the better shooting techniques and habits I actually learned after the Marine Corps. Marine Corps gives you a good basis to build off of, but a lot of the cool, legit stuff I learned after, and you go, well, how did you get better at these things? And as much as I would like to say, I got to go see a legit shooting instructor and had a good time, not the case. It was mostly playing with airsoft, ironically. So, it does something you can't supplement, is the moral of the story. So you supplement your training, you got your basis for the real stuff, you've shot real guns before, ammunition is expensive when it's not being provided by the US government. But you gotta have it, you gotta get that training. This training is important. And we're not even covering the medical position yet. No, we get to that much later. So, with the airsoft guns, what you're gonna be able to train really well at, and here's where the big divide is. Here's where Milsim gets known as the special group. So what you've got is you've got your normal airsofters, because airsoft is a thing that's generally open to everyone. So everyone in the airsoft community can go out, buy a cheap AEG, 2 ARPs, so 2 little pistol versions of an AR, lightweight, load them with 500 round high capacity magazines, put them on full auto and just basically run around everywhere. It's fun, don't get me wrong, that's a ton of fun. That's one of the things that makes airsoft a great game. Don't be one of the diehards. And here's where the real problem escalates. If you're using airsoft for training purposes, it's going to be great for things like CQB, because you're already at very short ranges. You can attach red dot sights. You can, if you really want to, you can get PEC 15s and nods if you want to do some nifty night games or do some pretty cool stuff in the dark. If you come into a dark building and you know someone's around there but you don't really know who, you can blast them with a light, effectively blinding them, making them less able to defend themselves. They can still shoot because, you know, CSGO, flashbang just makes the screen go all white, but they're still going to be able to shoot. They're probably not going to hit you, but they can still shoot, and you get to learn all these cool techniques. And most importantly, what I'd say that you really get, outside of just team training and organization, communication, running around and hitting targets in close quarters, is you get to work on your kinesiology, which is your body's ability to move, but this time within the confines of body armor, plates, helmets. Make sure your gear's all set up, make sure you don't have stuff getting in the way. Common beginner mistake is to carry way too much stuff on your rig. And when you got too much stuff, your gun's getting caught up on things, your sling's getting caught on your shoulder pads, you're having a hard time moving. Most people will opt away from the sling like I did for one game, and that's how I strained my forearm in a non-video related way. So, slings are important, but knowing how to properly implement your sling is a big deal, and you can get a lot of training on that, airsoft-wise or with real guns. Although the airsoft position is going to be a lot cheaper if you already own the gun. So, if you're doing the CQB training and you want it to be as legitimate as possible, you're going to want everyone with gas blowbacks. You're going to want limited 30 round munitions. For the handguns, which can generally carry 25, load them to a more realistic capacity. And all the magazines are going to be weighted as if they're realistically loaded with munitions, so you're going to have that, get you a better grasp of the weight, and that stuff will actually transfer over pretty well. So one of the things I noticed is compared to when I was still enlisted, is on the last airsoft game I went running around with my M4, this little boy right here, the Mark 18 Mod 0, is that I pop everything, the magazine will go empty, check the side real quick, throw out the mag, we'll grab a new one off the Krydex, insert the new mag, slap the side of the gun, and we're back in. The basis for those techniques was all learned on the military side, particularly at that Mount Town day we had with the old staff sergeant and good buddy Fox. All the basics were implemented there, but the actual speed and all the practice, I'd have my little beanbag chair here, I don't have it right now. With the beanbag chair, to protect the more expensive mags, drop the mag in there, throw in a new one. And just practice that several times a day. Because it really builds that muscle memory and it's good practice. So that's good. You can supplement with that. You can get your reloads and everything faster, airsoft wise, and then transfer that over to the real world when you're using real steel guns. So that's important. Now, continuing on. Getting distracted again. I knew there was something else that was going on about it. So yeah, shooting wise, table 1 and table 2. Table 1 is generally where you're going to want to start a lot of the basic shooting, is because you're shooting at a stationary target at varying ranges, getting a feel for elevation and wind. Basically, how your rifle shoots is what you're really learning. How the bullet's going to be affected by different temperature and all that stuff, windage and all that fun stuff. You're going to learn that all in table 1. Now, that gives you a really solid basis, but it's only going to get you so far in the realm of incredible violence. So you want to be faster, you want to be able to take all these different skills and have a confluence into a solid point. So table 1's great, gets you the basic shooting, usually deal with iron sights. And now I know the Marine Corps, shortly after I got out, moved over to everything being done with a ACOG RCO. Which is good, that's what you're generally going to be shooting with, so you need to learn with that. But you should still start with iron sights, just to get the whole grasp, and then you Kentucky windage, as with the Nerf gun, with the ACOG, and boom, you're set for stationary targets. Things get a lot more complicated with moving targets. Table 2, you do multiple target engagements, dozer drills, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, you got 2 targets, you go pop, 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 pop. Which actually reminds me of the fun boxing drills. Because if you got a guy who's really fast and dodgy, you got to work his body, because you injure the abs and do damage to the abdominals. Suddenly he can't move as well, he can't move as fast. Slows the head down, makes the head a far more stationary target, and that's when you're able to really lay into him. Sometimes it's not even worth going for that to begin with, and that's kind of a fun little trivia thing we'll say there, so that's fun. So, you got table 1, you go to table 2, you can multiple targets. You have the moving targets, which is moving at a very slow walking speed, so if you got someone who's just like, yeah, even that can be a little challenging to hit, but because again, you can't see the bullet, you're not firing tracers at this thing, which would be nice. Heads up there, Marine Corps, if you want to make that thing a tracer thing, you can get people to hit those targets far more effectively, because they'll see how fast the bullet's going and where they're missing. Are they shooting too far ahead or too far behind? And I think if you can do that with even just 8 rounds, you can get people far more cognizant and higher shooting scores altogether, because most people just don't know where the round's going. They're shooting either too early or too late, and they have no idea which one it is. So the next round, similar problems. I mean, eventually they're going to hit it, hopefully, but... And that's where a lot of the airsoft and Nerf gun things come in, because being able to see the physical space occupied by the ammunition and how far ahead or behind you're hitting the target can have a huge impact on how much farther ahead you need to aim, how much farther back you need to aim, and actually getting the rounds out there. So that's good. That's important to learn. You also do a few speed reloads, but again, you're using sub-optimized magazine pouches for the task, but adapt and overcome, right? Yut, hoorah. So I got all that out of the way. Table 1, table 2, that cool stuff. So the CQB thing, like I was mentioning, CQB you can get done really well with airsoft guns, and most importantly, as John Lavelle, guy from Warrior Poet Society, even emphasizes, I mean, well, pain's an excellent teacher. If you really want to drive home these skills you need to learn, particularly for CQB or group tactics or anything, you need to get it all going force on force. With our good buddy, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, the guy who wrote both On Combat and On Killing being the first book. You really need to drive these skills into the midbrain. So we're getting into more of the psychology thing, front brain, consciousness, all that fun, the thinking thing. Midbrain is going to be like your animalistic dog brain, and that will actually hijack your frontal lobe. And when you're in a full panic situation, you're having all the negative, very bad code black things going on, where you can't control your body. That's going to be a huge problem. And you can avoid a lot of that by really getting in the training, especially force on force, where you got other people running around with guns. It's going to give you a bit of stress now. Initially, I always thought it was really weird when I first started playing Airsoft, or even the first time in Mountown. You really feel the pulse go up, you start sweating, you get a bit nervous, that stuff's all normal. It gets far less common the more you do it and the better practiced you are, and you keep, like a kettle of hot water, you keep that flame going underneath it and you'll be fine. You're going to still feel the stress, but you're going to be able to push through all of it and and do exactly what you need to do because, again, train how you fight. Which isn't really going to be with airsoft guns, but airsoft guns, maybe not so much in Japan, definitely more stateside where the impact and the power and speed's a lot higher. When you get hit, it gives you a good indication that you fucked up. Now you're not going to be able to avoid it all the time, but knowing what went wrong, how you got hit, is a good teacher. It's like, hey, if I lackadaisically am standing over cover and not really taking in the time and effort to keep myself low, keep my weapon positioned forward and ready to engage anyone who might come around the corner, you're gonna get zapped. And it's better to do it in airsoft than in an actual firefight, where you can learn from it, because if it happens in an actual firefight, you're generally not gonna get a second chance. And if you do, well, hey, good on you, but a lot of people don't, so take the training seriously. Definitely keep the training seriously. And yeah, definitely, the more you work it, the better you get an understanding for it. Your body's going to fall back on muscle memory anyway, and you're really going to get in that midbrain. So when the midbrain's hijacking your frontal cortex, you're still going to be able to operate, compete, shoot. Like, the boxer gets in the jaw. He's not technically conscious, but his body goes back to the midbrain. The midbrain keeps the fight going. So, stuff to really get in there. So yeah, we've got all this stuff, you get to wear your real gear, you get to make sure the gear works out, and you're really doing a lot of supplementary training, which is all good, so. Check my notes again, because this is more of like a complete research paper, and then we got reloads and everything. So yeah, big thing, where airsoft kids get made fun of a lot, and I have a sergeant from my old first unit who absolutely hates airsoft, mind you, because he's gone several deployments. Then again, my good buddy Demon of Ogimi, he also went on a few deployments, and they both have completely different feelings about airsoft, and there's good reasons for the most part as to why. Now my good buddy Demon of Ogimi, who started in paintball and worked his way into building his own airsoft team, successful airsoft team mind you, for building a second airsoft team because situations and stuff. As I mentioned, you can do a lot of the CQB, close quarters, indoor training, hostage situations. You throw a lot of frag grenades around. And where the airsoft starts to fail is, again, that Milson special community I mentioned. And here's why. Police are doing a lot of training for close quarters. Yeah, occasionally you're going to have snipers and longer range things going on in the area of operations a lot of the time. But a lot of the time, if you're on like a SWAT team and you're going indoors, you're not the sniper. You're going to be indoors, you're going to be within close quarters, there's going to be targets everywhere, keeping your weapon ready, having your eyes checking every corner and ready, and there's a guy on him. That's good stuff. That's good stuff to practice, it's good stuff to train, and it's going to transfer over to the real world really well. Now, you move away from the sort of like police, SWAT, first responder situation, and you go into the field where all the Milson kids really want to be. The guys want to have all these sniper rifles and machine guns, and they want to pretend to be really hardcore operators and grow beards, wear patches they don't rate. That's where the problem comes in. That's why airsoft kids get their lunch money stolen and stuffed into lockers. Is because they're trying to be something they're not, especially if they don't have the military training or they're not doing any form of physical fitness to keep themselves in shape. Airsoft doesn't work out as well in the military end as it does in that CQB training sort of situation. So, you get to the military end, people are more concerned about looking Gucci and just, they wear all these patches that they don't rate, they try to wear rank and stuff, which infuriates most of the veteran community. You know, I'll be honest, it bothers me bit too, not to sound like I'm salty or easily triggered, but my first corporal I had, probably objectively the best corporal I ever had while I was in the Marine Corps, he had a pair of bloodied up chevrons that he got from his buddy out in deployment who didn't make it back, and he wanted him to have those. Those were like the last chevrons he got from the guy. So, dude bled and died wearing Marine Corps uniform, corporal chevrons, and when my corporal picked up, he wore those same chevrons on his collar, and it was a really, understandably, a really big deal to him, you know, so. That's pretty much why you don't wear the chevrons. Same thing for patches. If you were someone who went to the more special operations forces and you fucking bled and sweat and everything to get that patch, and you've lost buddies who were wearing the same patch who came before you, like the skull frog thing, particularly Navy SEALs, with Chris Kyle and all that stuff, you don't want other people who have nothing to do with that amount of sacrifice trying to get into your community and, well, do stupid Milsim shit. A little kind of infuriating. I mean, you got all sorts of people who have their own groups and stuff, and if they're not your patches, just don't wear them. Hell, I wouldn't even wear Marpat camis for the most part to play Airsoft because it reminds me of slavery, but different story. So yeah, but I mean, it's just don't wear the rank. Don't wear the rank, don't wear the unit patches. Make your own patches. That's what I did. That's why I have my little Good Sir Night patch. It's because it's simple and it's something I can wear to identify myself and meet up with people in the community. So make your own stuff. If you want to have ranks, that's fine. Don't use military ranks. Don't use any currently existing rank. Make your own rank. I mean, assuming this thing's fully functioning and cognizant, you should be able to come up with your own custom designs and cool stuff. But yeah, don't be that guy. Because again, you'll get your lunch money stolen and stuffed in the locker. If not by someone else, then by me. So, watch. So, yeah, don't do that. And, yeah, so basically that's what the big divide is. The Milsim community, trying to do hardcore military operating tactics and stuff, never going to work out. But if you stick to the CQB portion to supplement training, great. And maybe you don't care about any of that stuff. So if you don't care about supplementing training, well, don't lose sight of the main picture. Airsoft, like I said, large community, tons of people all get into it. And have fun. If you're not doing training, you need to be having fun playing Airsoft, otherwise you're being a goober or you're ruining the fun for everyone else by trying to gatekeep, so don't do that either. Yeah, so that's pretty much the point I had altogether. I've been holding this rifle here this whole time, but that's just because it makes me happy and it gives me a sense of security and comfort. Yay, Second Amendment. It's Airsoft, I know, but don't yell at me. So, ultimately, in conclusion, you can supplement training, you cannot substitute training. You're not going to be a badass Delta SEAL Vietnam sniper, but you can do a lot of the close quarters combat training. Although, if you're going to be doing that, you're going to be doing a more restrictive we need a new word, that's the problem. Our problem is people are using the word milsim. We need to be doing, I don't know, we need a new word for the close quarters combat training that the police tends to use. If you're basically doing sim rounds. Sim rounds also have a short range, believe it or not, despite the fact that they're gunpowder propelled paintball projectiles. They still have to travel only so fast, so they've got a limited range, much like Airsoft, but now with little paint marks. So it's not, hey, did you hit me? I don't know if that BB made impact or not. It's more of a, did you? Oh, yeah. Oh, there's some pink here. I'm out. I'm good. So yeah. But then you can also throw in medical thing you need to be doing regardless. You need to always make sure you're on top of your medical game. If you have an actual doc, even better, learn everything you can from him. Learn everything you can from the doc. It's important, and it's always useful in every situation. There'll never be a time where you will not need more medical knowledge. But yeah, I've kind of tangented on long enough. Ultimately, don't wear patches that aren't yours. And don't be a dick, I guess. It's a lot of the keys to it. And have fun. If you're playing Airsoft, have fun. If you're doing your, I don't want to call it milsim, I need a word for it. I didn't think about it before the video. But basically, if you're doing that close quarter stuff and everyone's wearing gas blowbacks and wearing a proper face mask and goggles, full steel goggles for their own defense, preferably a helmet if you really want to get more into it, but sometimes you're just going to have a hat. Sometimes you're just going to have a balaclava and you're going to be chilling somewhere around Africa when things go down and 3 people need to get ventilated. So you gotta be ready. And yeah, always train. Always train. Don't be fat. Run upstairs. Practice with your weapon handling and be safe. So that's what we got for you guys. I'll be interested to see how the comments go, because either they'll go standard YouTube ways, which is terrible, or maybe we'll get a legitimate intellectual conversation going on. So hope that video has been a little bit eye-opening for you guys. I still want a non-Milsim word. You could probably just call it like police training. Not to be offensive to police, but just some type of replica training, or what's a good word? Combat simulation. There you go. We could call it combat simulation for close quarters. CQB combat simulation. There you go. Not Milsim, because Milsim's all about cosplay and trying to pretend you can shoot someone at 800 meters with a weapon that barely shoots 30. So, yay! So that's all I got for you guys. Stay chivalrous. Have a good time. Don't be dicks. Unless you need to be a dick to someone, then by all means, if they have it coming, but mellow out, have fun, stay safe, and hydrate or die. They don't pay me to say that, I just like this statement, so America!